But thank you. You're very thoughtful. And our guest is here, Kolawole Johnson, a communication strategist. He'll be helping us wade through some of the big stories today. Kolawole, you are welcome.
Guess who they introduced him? now you know say I do.
I try very hard to be very formal with him.
Formal,
but half the time it doesn't work. There are days when he's in the mood and we get this formal setting, and there are times when he comes around and...
No, see, me, those times, it is when you have some very sad development, and you can't because you can't play around that.
Yeah. But Nigeria to repay World Bank 800 million loan for 25 years, sad or not a sad development? I mean, we're talking about removal of subsidy come June, and the government is already talking about palliative to very poor and vulnerable households. And they said that they have received, some papers carried it as a grant, others carried it as a loan, but they have received about $800 million from the World Bank, and we have to pay back. So it doesn't sound like a grant, because a grant is, all right, give me your business plan or whatever plan you have, and we're going to put this money in towards that cause. If there's a payback, it means there's some sort of soft loan that is being handed. $800 million. And I know that a lot of people have criticized it, saying, oh, no, we don't trust the government to manage it. Twilight of this administration. They should leave it to the next administration, seeing that they have said the next administration is going to be responsible for the removal of the subsidy and all of the plans that would follow. But, it feels like more loans on our debt profile of 77 trillion naira is making some people weak, even though they're not going to pay directly from their pocket. I know one of
You're paying from your pocket. Don't just
directly or indirectly.
What is directly or indirectly? Okay, because you need money to service the debt.
Yeah.
You don't have enough money for the educational sector. So guys go on strike. Aren't you paying? Number two, you don't have enough money for the health sector. Doctors are leaving the country. You can't equip your health facilities. Aren't you paying directly? People are some are even paying with their life. They die. Now, the roads are bad. You don't have money for infrastructure because you spent, of course, the huge chunk of your income to service that. Now, take, for example, last year, the first quarter of the year, Nigeria made about 1.6 trillion naira altogether in income, but we serviced debt with about 1.9 trillion. Deficit. I think last year, we had a deficit in terms of our, income to debt service ratio. So the fact is that when you keep borrowing like this, and you're paying through your nose, and some keep arguing that the problem we have is not that of debt, is that of revenue generation. And if you know that's your problem, so why don't you focus on that and borrow less? You open all of your flanks, illicit funds flying out of this country. You don't even know what the oil industries are doing. They only declare what they think is good for you. The metering process, those guys brought it, the multinational companies.
Yeah.
Even the calibration of the metering process, they also brought it. So they declare to you what they deem fit. You don't even know the amount of oil that they are taking out of your shores. Now, of course, you understand the fact that they said Nigeria has lost tens of billions of dollars to undeclared proceeds of oil exploration in Nigeria, of crude oil sale in Nigeria. Few years back, during Jonathan, I think between 2011 and 14, it was said that we lost about $17 billion to what was sold to the U.S. alone that was not declared officially. So that money didn't come to us. And you have quite a number of this. And you have this same government saying that, they took them to court, and you have the lawyers messing up. It became a personal arrangement. Once you put the torchlight, maybe you want your share, come and take your share. And that is all. And we keep borrowing when we can get to look inward and fix the rot in the system. This borrowing you're talking about, don't you think is killing the system? You don't know? It's killing the system. It is taking away money that we should have used to service the critical sectors. And they are all lagging behind. Now,
That's in servicing the debt, because it feels like
the money we spend on servicing it. Okay, let me tell you the double jeopardy we are in. It's a double squeeze for us.
Yeah.
One, you borrow the money, and a chunk of that money is stolen, either directly or indirectly. Corruption, minimum value of practically no value for what you're spending. You put 100 million naira on a road and you can hardly get a value of 20 million. How? At first, that value, that road should cost the contractor will quote like say 50 million naira, knowing well that he wants to eat half of that. And the man will say, no, okay, please add my own, double it. So it has gone to 100 million. At the end of the day, the man that has taken that, wanted to do the job for that 50, he is trying to also take more than the 25 he envisaged earlier, because he has given the top man the 50 million, and some guys down who would also approve his files, certificate, are also asking for money. So he wants to make maybe 30 million. So at the end, he wouldn't do more than 20 million worth of value. Give you more than that value on that road. And so that debt that you borrow, that you took 100 million from, it means that at least 60 million of that has been stolen, if not 70 million of that. So when it is stolen, one way. Two, we don't even invest in the proper infrastructure that will help us to oil the economy enough to generate the money to service and to pay the debt back. So we keep struggling. We keep getting into one loan
or the other.
And the other continuously like that. And the cycle continues. Look at where they picked it from now. $11 billion, 10.5 or thereabout, to what it is today for the something $billion. This is crazy. Are we joking?
But then you talked about
the fearful part is that you have a National Assembly who seem not to understand the exact dictate of their work. The National Assembly ought to be acting as the checks and balances to the executive arm of government. But whatever they give them, they just approve. They turn themselves to an extension of the executive arm. No difference. You're not even scrutinizing. It is after you have given them the loan, you now say, okay, come and explain what you give you the last one. When that should have been the first thing to do, you look at the performance of what you gave them last before you approve another. You will not look at that. You just approve blindly. And when you want to take your own portion, you say, okay, come and justify what you've done with, trash. So, fact, Kim, Nigeria is losing in both ways. And taking such an amount of loan at the twilight of this government, good. If you are deferring the removal of the subsidy to the next government, so why are you taking the loan to spend before they come?
But some will argue, though, that some of these things take process. And so perhaps the process has started and then culminated at this time.
Is the planning, not the deployment.
Okay.
Because you still have all through the month of June. Now, what they have is very simple. There is no provision for subsidy from July. Okay?
Yeah.
And they are not the one to plan for, from July upward. The government is not expiring June 30th. Also, it is May 29. The incoming government, of course, must have their plans in place. And if the same thinking you've had for 8 years has not taken us anywhere, why do you think you should still borrow more on that same thinking that is not taking us anywhere? The same thinking that took dollar from 196 naira, to 800, 900 naira. Today, maybe 750 or 740. The same thinking that, that led the country to where it is today. Poverty quarter of the world. The same thinking cannot keep borrowing.
But can we honestly get anything done, seeing that we're still a mono economy, heavily dependent on oil that we're not refining and all of that? Can we honestly get much done in Nigeria if we do not get funds?
The actual meaning of mono economy is not even about dealing in one product. Okay. It is as in taking out your product in the primary way. Assuming Nigeria is refining the oil, okay?
Yeah.
Would have been able to get all the value chain. You know what is there? Plenty of things there. Now, what is causing the trade imbalance? According to the mercantilist, your trade, your export must be more than the import, so that you have the trade, so that you won't have the trade deficit. Now, when you give somebody a barrel of oil for, say, $100, he refines that oil, that one barrel, and he's coming back. He sells even just one product to you. From there, he has made his money. Whereas there are several other products. He will get kerosene, he will get diesel. So employment is there. At the end of the day, there is trade deficit. So what you're earning is not enough to service what you have on ground. And the only option is to borrow. And this system was laid down by the colonial masters, by these same, Western countries who are shouting today, who are, forcing things down our throat today. You know why? At the beginning in those days, when they came to us, now, our forefathers didn't have the choice. They dictate to them the crop to plant, and they still tell them the price they will pay. You don't get it. I need you to go plant rubber or to plant so crop. Okay, when they bring it, they tell them, okay, we are buying for so amount. Of course, it was a double squeeze. So they did not allow us to grow what will benefit us. It is what will benefit them, not them here. What will benefit their own factories over there.
Well, isn't that why they came in the first instance?
Yes, so they turned us to the plantation field. They were taking things from here to service their own industry, to build their own industry. The same system is what you have today. They just take the oil to build their factories there, to create the jobs there, to enlarge their economy there. Why we suffer here?
So we're not capable of independent reasoning enough to know
Now,
we need to add value.
This is it. While you will blame, of course, the external factors that are not allowing us to break even from this. You see, these guys, they do everything possible to ensure that these countries remain their plantation field. Now, we have ourselves to blame. How? Because there are always part of us that will collude with them. Look at that case that we're talking about. Look at the cocoa thing that they came to drop in Nigeria then.
Let's just go for this very quick break and we'll take it up from there.
Sincerely, I don't want to wait till I graduate from this school.
Hello, my name is Kimberly. I'm the host of Hard Facts, and I bring you the biggest stories driving conversation every weekday here on 95.1 Nigeria Info Hard Fact Show. I love to get your opinion and conjectures, but the facts you cannot dispute here on Hard Facts. Join me and let's talk.
This is Nigeria Info.
Hajara, we see you number one at always. And Badmos Sumbo joined us via YouTube, says, good afternoon, the fellow Itodo, our guest, Mr. Kolawole, that brings wealth of currency and knowledge to Nigeria Info. Currency and knowledge?
See tied to I don't make money. Currency and knowledge. Money don't come.
Currency and knowledge.
All
right, you've been sharing the knowledge. I hope you leave back some of the currency before you leave the studio. He said currency.
I won't leave it.
Yeah, so we're talking about all of the borrowing and what the external factors in terms of the colonizers.
You have the internal enablers per time and the external ones. The internal ones have always been those who sold their brothers as slaves. Yeah. They were the internal enablers. They are still there today. They are still selling us, and mostly our leaders. These guys, these Western nations, the way they had themselves here as colonial masters, that is the same way they had these companies here as an extension. Now, it is the season of imperialism. Now, in those days, Nigeria started from company rule. The same thing you have. It was the big companies from the Western countries that started the administration of the country. Don't forget, Tubman Gordon, the owner then of Niger Company, that got the charter to become Royal Niger Company, was the first person to administer Nigeria. When in 1885, during the Berlin Conference, they delineated or they dashed Nigeria. They gave Nigeria away to the
Europeans.
To Britain, and Britain was not ready to come colonize us immediately. So they gave that company the authority to administer Nigeria and bring back proceeds to their country. The same way you have today. they take the proceeds from here and they repatriate to the Western nations. And when they were coming back to, to start fully colonization process, they bought Nigeria back transaction. They paid the man £865,000. Yes, to have, to own Nigeria again. They've been doing this transaction with us, they not be today. And the same thing is what you have today. The MNCs, these companies are still their hands right here. And what do? They ensure that they get into your policies, that you don't get free from the system. And they understand the grid that we have. So they identify some of us who have the access, who have the way, and they understand the language. So they push the money. Imagine you having a case in court against companies that sold your crude without your knowledge, that didn't bring back the money. And for how many years? The whistleblower that made all of this noise, he is an ordinary citizen. Are you saying that the government don't have more than enough machinery to have noticed this before? And the present government said they are in court, and we learned that the lawyers are practically compromising. And the government is still paying them for compromising. And today, nothing is happening on that case. How many years? And we have failed to move the case away from Nigeria to the US, where you can get justice. We are borrowing money when we have access to get, after that judgment, maybe $20, $30 billion. You know what this will do to us? We can renegotiate our debt and pay this once and for all, and now sit back and have our process, our income to build critical infrastructure.
I see the perspective where you're coming from
with
this. Given the fact that, yes, this external influence and all of that, renegotiating our debt, Obasanjo's time, I know we got, that waiver with the Paris Club refund, but somehow we managed to build it back up. And I'm a little curious, are we going to continue to heap the blame on the external factor here that we cannot address inward as a country? Because it gives this feeling that we're not just capable of doing anything on our own. We're still like puppets controlled with the strings of these external forces. Okay. I mean, 60-something years afterwards, and we're still taking ourselves back to Niger Delta Company and how they've been manipulating us. And we've not been able to apparently get the kind of leadership to just liberate us economically also.
Okay.
Because it's a leadership problem.
Yes. Nkrumah said there is no real independence when you don't have economic independence. In fact, he said we only had flag independence. And we should rely on our ingenuity to drive ourselves out of that, to have our economic independence. And that will not be done as long as you have people who are only after their own pockets in leadership position. And each time we invest our energy, our emotions into this, this one will be different. At the end, they come and you don't just get anything. Honestly. In fact, it seems we keep getting worse. The next one will come and it will be worse than what you had before. We pray this next one won't be as worse, as what you have now. But the fact is this. The external factors, they understand how to ensure that you stay in this clog because they need you to service their industry there. If you are, of course, maybe one of the things that actually affected us was the fact that there was a report that said we'll overtake the U.S. maybe by, some 30 years to come. In those days, I think the report came out in 1978 or thereabout that projected that Nigeria will overtake the U.S. economically. We just, we shot ourselves. The days that Singapore was coming, Malaysia was coming to look at us. Today, we can't even look at them. Those guys are giants and we are nowhere. So, the external factor, I agree. You can't keep blaming them alone. The internal factors who are allowing them maybe are the main culprit here. But it is the language that we seem to all understand. Don't forget, Kim, that this is a society that it's producing. See, you can't have white substance out of the charcoal. Out of the burning stuff. If it comes, it will come in form of ashes. It can't be better than that. You can't have it, pure white. You know why? The same society we are, the same community we are, is producing the Yahoo boy. The same is producing the corrupt law enforcement agent. The same is producing the corrupt pastor who will sleep with all his, members, cajole them to bring money. The same is producing the fraudulent lawyer, the fraudulent doctor, all around. So you can't expect some official now to come and be sent from somewhere. It is us that will need to just ensure you drive this into them. But unfortunately, we have something in our system that always become a clog in the wheel of progress, from holding our leaders accountable. You know that thing? Shebi, your own as rude. Leave this one is our own, is our turn. Whereas the man is stealing. And
so we're all guilty of a milocon. Our turn, our people are pressing.
When you put a person in office from your community, if you dares go there and come back with nothing, most of you will not welcome him back. You know that. You say, he returned the same way he left. He's an idiot. He cannot make it again. He was in God. All of you will abuse him. In fact, the moment he gets there, the entire community takes all the problem to him. In fact, the man who sleeps with his wife will come and say, my wife wants to give birth, as though he doesn't know the past 8 months that the wife will give birth. In fact, it becomes the solution to every single problem, even in private lives. Where do you want him to get the money? Is it not from stealing?
All right.
See, take this. Somebody gets a job around you, and he said, how much is the salary? 40,000 naira, or say 50. That is small in this economy. You say, okay, but maybe you'll be getting some things by the side. He will say, yes. What are those things? Not be thieving, not be stealing.
Side hustle.
Not be corruption inside the same place. Okay. Have you seen the way small businesses are dying in this country because of the activities of those you employ there? Oh my. Everyone, see, those who are waiting to steal, they are more than those who are stealing. So it is this society that is producing all of us, except we stand up. Maybe for once, whoever has gotten there, no matter the process that produced him, stand up and ensure you hold him accountable. Honestly. Right. All this one that, no, he's my own thief, leave him or stop. We have this ethnicity in us. See, Kim, we have institutionalized ethnicism. And we say, we are national. You feel state of origin in your form. What is that for? You're already profiling me already now. You put religion in my form to fill. Official forms. What is that? You're profiling me already. See, Chuba Akadibo said there are two dynamics in Nigeria state. The nationalism dynamics and the ethnicism. He said we must understand the vertical and horizontal interpenetration of the calculus of nationalism and ethnicism. That you cannot be a nationalist. You cannot be a good nationalist and a good ethnicist.
One must give way for the other.
You must be one part-time. And if you, see something happen, I don't want to make much comment. If you stand in Anambra, for example, and you say Bianca cannot be a senator representing Anambra because she's not from Anambra. You go to Ebonyi and say, no, this man, though he has stayed in Ebonyi all through, but he's from his ancestral stock can be traced to Enugu, so he cannot come here to be governor. Yet you want to come to Lagos and claim a nationalist? That is all we are. That is who we are. Every one of us, we are guilty. So until we purge ourselves of this, and we are
maybe
able
not every
to
one
see
of us,
things.
though.
Kim,
Itodo is not.
Some people, we can say some people, not everyone.
Majority. Honestly, majority. See, you know why this is painful, eh? We can pretend as a nation. Pretend seems to be like a national asset here. Honestly. So until we are able to leave this and hold our leaders accountable, regardless of where they come from. A leader is sick because you say, okay, we don't want to lose our turn. Leave him there at all cost.
All right.
I
feel like you're going down one place. It's becoming...
But before we move on from this particular story about the loan, I'd like to get your thoughts on this. Now, we know that $53 million of the loan will be used for overhead costs, logistics and all of that. And it's assumed that 50 million people who are already in the register are meant to share the loan that was gotten. I mean, initially we were meant to believe it was a grant, but apparently we'll be paying for this in the next 25 years. But now the IMF has advised Nigeria to increase its taxation. And with the earning power of the average Nigerian, how would increasing the taxation help in any way? Wouldn't it put more burden on Nigerians to help maybe reduce the death profile that we currently have going for us?
All right. If we need to generate money and we need to look inward, taxation is one of the things we can do. Of course, more fundamental is to block waste in government and block corruption. What we'll be able to save from that process will be huge, I can assure you. But again, you leave this country and you know how they tax the people in those countries that you're comparing us with. You will understand that we are paying tax. I was talking somewhere yesterday, and we subsidize education already heavily. How much do you pay in school? How much? In private schools around here, medical students in a school right here in Abuja will pay about 2.8 million naira per semester. I'm not saying per session, per semester. Accommodation about 1.8 million naira or thereabout. But go to Uni Abuja, they pay 60,500 naira. It's already heavily subsidized. So if you need to pay tax, please pay. Number one. Number two, what we need to do is not the generic idea of taxation. Is to look at the different cadre. If you're earning so amount, then you should pay more. You don't, tax those who are earning next to nothing. No. Those you tax are those who are earning much more. Then we need to bring more people into the tax net to ensure that more persons are able to pay, except those who are into, corporate organizations who are paying their staff monthly salary and they are deducting. The larger percentage of this population, they are not paying tax. So, to increase that tax net will be what we must do. Number three, we must be able to look at some things that we have put money into. I keep shouting, take money away from subsidy. I have explained how this is working. This is killing Nigeria. You can't be telling us that we are, the danger that we face here is the fact that you told us we are using 100 million liters per day, 90 million liters per day. We are not even using up to 30 million. So we are paying money, we are paying subsidy on what we are not using. The ones that they get to smuggle to Nigeria Republic and all these neighboring countries, we are paying subsidy on them for other countries. We are paying subsidy, for a man who lines up like 8 vehicles in his convoy, V8. No, take that away. So if we take these things away, see, the taxation you will put in that oil, it will go a long way. Everybody will pay for that. They may not know, except you want to have a totally liberal, downstream sector. You can even you can tax those guys directly, and they put the tax directly into the price we pay. Do you know how much they sell gasoline in these countries? Go check. We need to take the critical decision. If this will last for 5-6 years and things will get back to normal.
Now that we're talking subsidy already, Olurondare Oluwaseun says, I want to ask one question. Is it a crime to use this money they're borrowing all this while to fix our refineries? And it takes us back to NUPENG's position. And NUPENG is saying, we will not allow you to remove subsidy until you fix our refinery, because it feels like the government wants an easy way out. In the 8 years of this administration, talks about subsidy removal and campaigns prior to getting into office in 2015 was the assurance that our refineries were going to be functional. We do not have that in place. And then this drum of removing subsidy, the tempo is building. We're heading towards June where it will be removed. But it doesn't feel fair. It doesn't feel like a deal that benefits all sides. Fix the refinery.
Okay.
If that feels like the more difficult option to have that running and the private one. But NUPENG is now saying that their position is that refineries need to start working before subsidy is removed. Okay. And I think I don't have the data to back it up, but a good number of Nigerians have interfaced with and read comment and opinion piece seem to agree that we should have that happen first.
Okay. At times, when I don't follow popular opinions at times, I stay based on the information available to me. If you put data on the table today that shows that we will do better if we keep subsidy until we're able to fix our refinery, I will agree. See, superior opinion per time. It is knowledge sharing. But as far as today is concerned, I ask you, how much have we spent on fixing these refineries? Are you aware that most of these refineries are obsolete already in technology? won't you be producing at a higher cost at the end of the day with this existing technology in those refineries? Number 3, how much will cost you to fix those things? Now, I did a calculation here in your studio sometimes, but I don't know if it is here or on a TV station, that the amount we were to spend to fix some, refineries than what they were budgeting, we'll be able to build those new refineries. Yes, I did all of this. Don't forget that some people are hiding behind this tool to suck the nation dry. And at times, some people will present to you their personal interest as national interest. It is a business approach to things. You have the bourgeoisies everywhere. You have the you have them in Keda, the bureaucratic bourgeoisie, the comprador bourgeoisie, and the national bourgeoisie, the one who wants things to succeed. But there are some who want to just get in here and eat from the system. Do we have what it takes to fix those things now to work? And how long would they work when we have fixed them based on what you have on ground now? Are there not better technologies? Now, you want the government to fix and still run those refineries? Government, they have shown over time that they shouldn't be in business.
I mean, we have a guest who would disagree. Majid Dahiru would say government should have business in business.
No.
And maybe we need to start a recruitment process.
He's disagreeing because of his approach. And I bet you, if you want, do you know what killed Africa in those days that we went? We had money at independence years after. It was because what should be called business approach. See, what applies to you in your private organization does not apply in the public, in the civil service. I hope you understand. The things you do here that, you will smell it. You won't smell anything there. The bureaucratic approach has its own weaknesses. And you're saying that you cannot run effective businesses in this modern era, limiting yourself to the dynamics of the bureaucratic setting. And that is what you have. How did the same Brazilian NMPC version work? Why did it work better than us? What happened? Privatization. So you look at economies that things are working there, and you wonder what is making them to work. Just do comparative analysis. It's not rocket science. If it is working somewhere else, yes, show me. But I'm saying that most of the countries that their stuffs are working are not working because the government is in business. Now, most of these governments who were in business before, they have even left businesses. Take China, for example. In their, communism days, remember, it was the government that was controlling the mode of production. But China was backward until they did decollectivization. At that time, what they did was simple. You bring idea as a private stuff. The government will finance, but you run it. Now, what they are doing now in China is command capitalism, and China is booming. You keep quoting data from China, from South Korea, from Japan, that we can do better than them. Yet, you don't want us to run the system that they're running, that is making them work? Okay, invent your own. I believe that we can invent our own system based on the peculiarity of our environment, I believe. But I'm saying that the peculiarity of environment now does not, I repeat, support having government in the business per se privately, because we see government thing as national cake. All of us want to go there to take our portion. And you have seen what they have run from Nitel to Nigerian Airways, all of them. Where are they today? If they ran them before and they didn't succeed, why do you think they will succeed now? Who ran the refineries, are trying the first instance?
I thought I saw something with syrup.
Yes, I think between 2015 and 2020, about 1.48 trillion naira was used in maintaining refineries with no crude oil at all. I mean,
no single drop.
Exactly. So if we're able to make sense of this, how are we maintaining refineries that are not producing anything?
That is what I keep telling you. Some people stay there to make money from this process. It is part of the corruption. See, are you aware that some people will sponsor protest? Not for you, but for themselves. You are aware, right? That,
Well, we know that a lot of protests are not organic.
and they do it regularly. But they make it look like, oh, give us this one like it's a national thing. Some cries you see in the system, they are not genuine. It is for private consideration, for private interest. And these guys will go to any length to drive it. Remember what the subsidy clique some few years back did in this country. The counter protests, the counter strategies. They did all of this. Now, I'm not saying that is the only way, but I'm saying based on the present peculiarity, prevailing circumstances, removal is the first thing, because there are some people who are somewhere, they don't work at all. They sit inside their house, just pay this subsidy. It is getting to them. They declare what they don't bring into your country. I ask you, if the Minister of State himself can say he doesn't know what we are consuming, the Minister of State for Petroleum, even Buhari does not know what you're consuming. How can you declare the same number of liters per day consistently? Are you saying that if this fuel station, filling station gets 30,000 liters today, you get it tomorrow, the next day, is that? So you won't even have conflicting figures. So every single day the same thing. When we're having 90 or one up now, the best way to take these guys off, stop the subsidy completely. We can then balance ourselves up, look at the entire process, and re-engineer it again for us to be able to have it directly, and not our money ending up in people's pocket. We are crying that we don't have money, and some people are becoming billionaires per day, smiling to the bank.
All right, let's look at comments and take a few phone calls before we get to the next story.
All right, let's look at what's happening on Facebook right now. Olorundare Oluwaseun says, good day. Please, I want to ask one question. Is it a crime to use this money borrowed to fix our refinery?
I already read that.
And
I sent it to Facebook.
On Facebook as well, yes. Malatunde, Mikemi Favor, and Felix Teganyi saying hello to us on Facebook right there. Going straight to what's happening on YouTube right now. I like your guest analysis, but he always condemns the government policies rather than give us the way forward.
Okay.
Badmas Sumbo says, okay. You did not follow the protocol as you refused to greet the listeners, viewers, and contributors.
We'll see all views. We can take all views and
absolutely
look at them.
Iberi Joseph and the ministry says, good afternoon and welcome to Hard Facts, gentlemen and Lady Kim. Please, they should not borrow this administration money anymore. I know if it shout. And goes on to say $800 million for 25 years. Okay, that's the question being asked right there. Folake Oduekun says, Kolawole looking fresh as always. He does have a wealth of knowledge that I admire. Well done, sir.
Thank you, ma.
Dade Abiodun says, the guest who happens to be my brother from Akoko, African remain okay, I'm not sure what this means, but I'll let it go. And Sam Oluyemi says, my worry is why our leaders are more concerned about subsidy, grants and loans for subsidy rather than being concerned about having crude refined here. And hello to Chibike Kingsley. Wina Ethelbert says, he's not guilty. I'm not sure what you're guilty of. Okay, I think that's pretty much it.
Tribalism when he was talking about it.
Yes.
Albert Akpehe, you read that? Good to see you guys again. Nigeria to repay World Bank loan of, $800 million for 25 years. Well, I just added 25 years to my age. I just discovered I will still be alive and they will still be paying the money. They would have borrowed $16,000 billion from World Bank. So I will pay in 50 years. I see why they didn't want to conjure a while in there. This World Bank this refinery subsidy remover, ever since I listened to Al Mustafa testify how the past head of states were taking out because of insisting our refineries must work. So I have little on comment because the cabal don't have contending leaders in NUPENG. This one has calculated. He says he will still be alive and we're still paying.
Kim, he mentioned something there that is that you should pay attention to.
Which is?
He said Al Mustafa talked about how they took out leaders who did not agree with them. With who? These Western guys. Don't forget, they took out the Libya president. There are reasons for that. Is Libya better off today? The answer is no. Now, if I'll address our friend that said I condemn without putting solution. Okay, I condemn the borrowing of the excessive borrowing, and I provide a solution. I said we should look inward, as we should look inward, block waste in government, reduce corruption to the barest minimum, and bring more people to the tax net and tax strategically. Of course,
You
those are
did say
solutions.
all of those, yeah.
Yeah.
He wants you to label it now solution.
All right, Comrade Johnson from Utako says, I'm just hoping the people who can think like Kolawole Johnson can find themselves one day into decision-making positions.
It is here to talk, not talk about. It's here to talk,
so that we can have people who are taking decisions
Thank you, bro. I appreciate
with
it.
their brains.
Thank
Kudos to Nigeria Info and Mr. Kolawole. And Romanos from Apple says, I thank your guests, especially for eradicating Nigerians through your platform, that the breathing is still... Okay, all right, we'll skip that real quick.
Let's hear this caller.
Welcome
Hello.
to you.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Ola, the Seven-Storey, calling from Repay.
Correct.
Hello?
How you doing, bro?
Hello, can I continue?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you see, I so much admire the sensibility of the guest in the studio. I mean, each time it comes on board to share his knowledge about the Nigerian situation, whether political or economic, whatever, I so much admire him. But and most of the time, too, I tend to disagree with him in many of his views. And, first of all, your guest spoke about the fact that we should, Nigerians should hold their leaders accountable. Well, as truthful as that assertion is, I want to also add that, look, as Nigerians, you cannot hold your leaders accountable if you don't hold yourself accountable too. Do you understand? Because your guest spoke about, the endemic corruption in the system. A situation where even the small scale industry, businesses are putting up as a result of the corruption tendencies in the system. So, if people like that...
All right, Ola.
Hello?
We need you to wrap up.
So if people like that who are running other people's businesses at grants and are not holding themselves accountable, how would they hold the leaders accountable? You understand? But, with regards to the issue of the subsidy removal, please, let me just tell you this. I tend to disagree with your guest. You cannot remove the subsidy. You think the people that are talking about removing the subsidy don't know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. It was something they told us when they signed the electoral bill. They gave us the impression that everything was going to be okay until we saw what happened. They know what they're doing. Let's hold these people accountable. Get the refineries work before you can even talk about other states.
All right, thank you.
Thing. If you don't do it and you're talking about just removing it now, without getting the refineries work, I can tell you at the end of the day, these guys will make Nigeria.
All right, thank you, Ola. So Ola's position is fix the refinery first. Don't give them easy way out. Hello.
Welcome to you.
Hello.
Good afternoon. Welcome.
My name is Chibike from this place. What really happened to our refinery?
Are you asking us a question?
Yes.
Itodo, over to you. Kim, over to you. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you expand on your question?
He's gone already.
What kind of question is that? What really happened? Like the refinery disappeared? Hello?
Welcome to you.
Hello, Sister Kim.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. I greet your guest. This Mr.
Thank
Liu. You spoke very well. But the area I guess this thing is where you talk about men of God. Is it only them that corrupt in Nigeria? There are some still religion that corrupt apart from churches. Yes, if you touch all. Don't just touch one side. Thank you. Don't be afraid. Thank you.
Kim, I appreciate that. That's good.
Welcome to you. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, hello.
Welcome.
Yeah, this is Barita, sir.
Go ahead.
I greet your guest.
Thank you, sir.
How is it that America, you say, is the most indebted country in the world? Yet, it is still afloat economically. In fact, it's still strongest, even though China is giving them a fight. Now, because they are very productive, they don't play with education, and they make maximum use of the talents of their people. They don't play with the productive capacity, potential of America, to foreigners. That's why they allow Nigerians, working Nigerians, to go to their country. That's what we do in this country. We're not serious as people. We allow people to go to school, to go and study physics, to go and study literature, to go and study things that will not bring any productive value to the economy. It's not right. We must, as your guest said, we must ensure that leakages are plugged. You see people coming here to engage in illegal mining. Chinese companies, illegal mining, no payment of royalties, nothing. They're not even here, sir. You expect to start. It is not done that way. We must all be productive. We must plug all leakages, including leakages within the public sector, corruption and all that. I know it can be done, and it must be done. Go ahead, Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. We need to make way for the news at the top of the hour. Joy is already standing by for that. And we'll take more comments and look at one more story with our guest analyst, who is also pretty much with us till the bottom of the hour. Please stay with us.
Hello, my name is Kimberly. I'm the host of Hard Facts, and I bring you the biggest stories driving conversation every weekday here on 95.1 Nigeria Info Hard Fact Show. I love to get your opinion and conjectures, but the facts you cannot dispute here on Hard Facts. Join me and let's talk.
This is Nigeria Info.